You should subscribe to Dolphins Today because we have 100% free Dolphins content. We're not charging you $15 per month like the Miami Herald is, and we're also going to be interactive with our videos. We want to hear from you, the fans, on what the Dolphins should do. We're also trying to get to 25,000 subscribers. We're getting closer to that. So hit that big red sub button if you haven't already, and type me down in the chat if you're already subbed. Welcome into Dolphins Today. I'm your host, Will Scott. And could Odell Beckham Jr. be taking his talents to South Beach, one of the top remaining NFL free agents? And over the weekend, Tom Pelissero of NFL Network said that OBJ should sign with the Dolphins. Here's exactly what he said. It's an unusual situation because he's not going to have a good chunk of reps for the offseason. He's obviously trying to recover from that ACL tear. He's got to go someplace where he ideally has a solid foundation of the offense. How about the Miami Dolphins? Now, they've traded for Tyreek Hill. They have Jalen Waddle, but they're all about speed, speed, speed. They signed Cedric Wilson, too, but if you're talking about hedging your bets, an insurance policy, if something happens to one of those guys, not a whole lot of people better than Odell Beckham Jr. to be able to step in and give you something. McDaniel's offense, similar to Sean McVay's, he'd be able to come in and do the same thing he was doing out in Los Angeles on that Super Bowl team. So let me ask you, do you want to sign Odell Beckham Jr.? Type Y for yes, type N for no. You know, obviously the Dolphins are pretty set at wide receiver. They really don't need another wide receiver, but OBJ would be a lot of fun. Let me know what you think down in the comments section. So that's what Tom Pelissero said when asked about who should sign Odell Beckham Jr. He thinks the Miami Dolphins are a potential destination. The Dolphins really haven't been linked at all to OBJ. This is really the first analyst that's saying something about this. So maybe the Dolphins a sleeper team for Odell Beckham Jr., who has yet to sign, coming off of a Super Bowl season with the Rams. And he was much better with the Rams than he was with the Browns. With the Browns, we were talking about maybe OBJ is washed up. Maybe he is just not the same player that we once saw. Then he goes to L.A. And I'll tell you what, L.A. does not win a Super Bowl without Odell Beckham Jr. That's how good he was for that football team, stepping in after the Robert Woods injury as well. He comes into L.A., arguably was a difference maker in terms of them winning a Super Bowl. Now, looking at what the Dolphins have done this offseason, these are just the wide receiver moves. They obviously traded for Tyreek Hill. That's the big move. They signed Cedric Wilson. They re-signed Preston Williams. They bring in Trent Sherfield as well. They bring in River Craycraft. They signed future contracts with Cody Core, Devontae Dedmon, probably long shots to make the team. They trade Devontae Parker to the Patriots, and then most recently, in the fourth round of the NFL draft, they draft Eric Ezukanma. Here is what the Dolphins depth chart would look like with OBJ. This has me excited just looking at this. Who is stopping this offense? Nobody. Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, Odell Beckham Jr. as your three wide receivers, and then you have Cedric Wilson is maybe your fourth option in this offense. That being said, I really don't see this happening because Odell Beckham Jr., I think, will sign with maybe the Packers, maybe go back to the Rams, a team that needs a wide receiver more. I don't think that Chris Grier and the Dolphins front office is going to prioritize signing another wide receiver, especially after drafting Eric Ezukanma, who I think this team really believes in to be an option in the slot and on the outside for this team. But that being said, it might make some sense, and here's why. Odell Beckham Jr. is going to miss probably half the season, maybe even more. He tore his ACL in the Super Bowl. So he's going to probably sign a short-term, one-year deal, come in and try to make an impact on a playoff contender. Now, here's why it might make sense. OBJ is no longer in his prime. He's still a damn good wide receiver, but he's no longer in his prime. He's going to want to go to a place where I don't think he's not going to want to go to New England where he's got to be the number one option, right? So the pressure would be off of him if he comes to Miami. He would be the third option in this Miami offense, and he wants to go to a contender. I think Odell Beckham is all about trying to play for a contender once again. He just came from L.A., fresh off a Super Bowl title. He's going to want to go win another Super Bowl, going to want to be in an opportunity to do that, going to want to have an opportunity to do that. Miami is a team that could contend. In Miami, Florida, who doesn't want to live in Miami, Florida? You talk about a place that pretty much every single NFL player wants to play in. Miami is always a top option for NFL free agents, and the Dolphins have the cap space to do this. Now, you can argue that it doesn't make a whole lot of sense to do, but they haven't signed J.C. Tretter yet. They haven't added a free agent linebacker. They've re-signed a couple of their linebackers, but they haven't added someone from the outside yet. Anthony Barr is still available. Another name we've talked about, Reuben Foster. The Dolphins have the cap space, though, to sign OBJ, and it might make sense if it's a short one-year deal. Let him come in, see what he does after the injury, and make an impact on a potential playoff team in Miami. But Tom Pelissero is right when he says that depth is important. You never know what's going to happen injury-wise. Yes, the Dolphins are loaded at wide receiver right now, but let's say, God forbid, one of your top wide receivers goes down. Then in week 8 or 9, you can bring OBJ in, and he can make an impact. That's going to be huge. Even if you are fully healthy and OBJ comes back, that's huge, because the Dolphins, I think, will be in a playoff race. They're going to be right up there with the Buffalo Bills in the AFC East. That could be the difference maker for the Dolphins down the stretch. Just like OBJ did with LA last season, he was the difference maker down the stretch, at least one of the difference makers for the Rams down the stretch. He could play a similar role on the Dolphins. Where will he sign? Go down in the comments section. Let me know what you think. Where will OBJ play the 2022 season? Here are some potential options when you look at OBJ destinations. I think the Packers are the most likely destination for Odell Beckham Jr. They traded Davante Adams to the Raiders. They're going to be looking, I think, to add another wide receiver in free agency. And I've ranked likely destinations 1 to 5. Personally, I don't even think the Dolphins are top 5 just because of what they've done at the wide receiver position this offseason. They do not need another wide receiver. However, Tom Pelissero saying it's a potential fit. The Dolphins, with their cap space, a potential sleeper team in the OBJ sweepstakes. Go down in the comments if you want OBJ in Miami. Comment OBJ down in the chat. I'm expecting some mixed reactions in the comments on this video. I think a lot of y'all are probably going to say we don't need him. Let's pay JC Tretter instead. So if you don't want OBJ, go down and type no OBJ down in the chat. Now let's take a look at some Dolphins 2023 mock drafts. The 2022 mock draft now in the rearview mirror. Normally in the week following the draft, we're going to see a lot of mock drafts for next year. But first, go to chatsports.com/Tyreek and pick up your Tyreek Hill Dolphins jerseys. We got this aqua one, and then look at this one. This is my favorite. This one is dope, man. My guy Jeremy Chugs, producer, we might have to get you one of those, man. I really, really like this one. A little throwback action right there. So go down to that link below, chatsports.com/Tyreek, to pick up your official Tyreek Hill Dolphins jerseys. Todd McShay put out a mock draft for the Dolphins. Here's who he has the Dolphins selecting next year: Myles Murphy and Jahmyr Gibbs. Jahmyr Gibbs, a running back from Alabama. Murphy, a defensive end out of Clemson. We've talked about it a lot. The Dolphins adding an edge rusher or a running back. So maybe they'll just wait until next year and do both. They have 2 first-round picks next year, their own and San Francisco's. Here's who Bleacher Report had the Dolphins taking in their 2023 mock draft: Bijan Robinson and Jarrett Patterson. Patterson, a center out of Notre Dame. So finally, the Dolphins are addressing the center position in 2023. Michael Dieter's not going to be good. Connor Williams might have to move to center. They're finally going to address the center position next year, according to Bleacher Report. You could address it right now, Chris Greer, and sign J.C. Tretter. Now, what's interesting, neither mock draft had the Dolphins taking a quarterback, and I really respected that from both ESPN and Bleacher Report because there's obviously a lot of Tua haters out there, a lot of people that don't believe in Tua, that believe the Dolphins will use one of their 2 first-round picks on a quarterback next year. However, ESPN and Bleacher Report saying that the Dolphins are not going to take a quarterback in what is a loaded quarterback class next year, which includes Tyler Van Dyke out of Miami. And I know a lot of y'all are Van Dyke fans because he plays at the U. I think he's going to have a really good season this year with the Hurricanes. ESPN had him going number 9 to Seattle, so a top 10 pick. Bleacher Report had him going number 23 to Houston. And look, I think Tua is going to have a great year. You've surrounded him with a lot of talent. You've finally given him an offensive line. But if he struggles, just going to warn you all, Dolphins fans, there's going to be a lot of chatter amongst all the mock drafts about the Dolphins selecting a quarterback with one of their two first-round picks. And because of the Tyler Van Dyke connection to Miami, he plays at the U. There might be some mock drafts that have Van Dyke to the Dolphins. But again, Tua's going to play well. Tua's going to surprise a lot of people this year. Now, both mock drafts had Miami taking a running back. So that is something that I think we're going to see next year. Now, they did sign Raheem Mostert. That was a short-term deal. They signed Chase Edmonds in free agency as well. I think they're going to want to add a younger running back in the draft next year, though, and Bijan Robinson would be awesome out of Texas. He is one of the best running backs in the country, will likely be the top running back in next year's class. And we talk about how loaded we are with quarterbacks in next year's class, running backs just as good. Here's what Robinson did at Texas last season, 15 total touchdowns. And the stat that really stands out is rushing average, 5.8 yards per carry. I really like Robinson, and when you watch this guy, this kid has a lot of yards after catch potential as well, which we, of course, know the Dolphins are trying to really identify themselves as that kind of team. He is a great pass catcher as well, an option in the slot, check down, screen, whatever you want to do with Robinson. He is a dynamic playmaker that I think Mike McDaniel would love to have in this offense. Who do you want the Dolphins to draft in 2023? A couple of y'all have already been commenting Tyler Van Dyke. Now, I know a majority of us Dolphins fans believe in Tua. There's that small percentage that don't, though, and a lot of those people want Van Dyke. But do you want Robinson? Let me know who you want down in the comments section. ESPN and Bleacher Report both expect the Dolphins to draft a running back. Go follow me on Twitter if you haven't already. We're talking about all the new Dolphins rumors and breaking news on my Twitter. So go follow me at WillScott44. This has been Will Scott and Chat Sports. Talk to you again soon. Go Fins.